This is the Mike Kelly Podcast.
Mike Kelly. Mike Kelly. Mike Kelly.
So here we are, available across the UK with free delivery and no subscription charge. It's here, the still on Black Friday sale, Christmas New Year special, all rolled into one. So no messing. Fun-filled balderdash, straight in, straight off, and we're running on code red with our latest epic, salacious, discombobulating edition. Please sit back and enjoy, ring that bell, honk that horn, as we go headfirst into another cram-packed audio adventure of the I've always said I'd never take the lower offer of what we lovingly call the MIKEDJKELLY Shorter Than Short podcast.
On this week's podcast.
Coming up on this fabby-dabby-dozy edition of the Shorter Than Short, 6-letter words beginning with W and ending with R, pantomimes, mistletoe, job vacancies, EDF, Twitter, competitions, fake show business news, and a whole lot more.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Still sat in the cold trying to understand my EDF bill, £700 in credit after a £300 refund that's on its way, but they still want to put up the monthly payment by £40. Just don't get it. Would change supplier if there were any alternative suppliers.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
So who'd like Elon Musk as a friend? Or as a boss? Me neither. What a tosspot. Talking of bosses, what about the hedge fund owner Christopher Hahn, who wants Alphabet to cut the wages of all Google staff, who he says are overpaid? More on this later. Wife and I had some McMuffins, me a bacon and egg McMuffin, Winston a sausage and egg McMuffin, wife plain bacon McMuffin. Bloody awful, mind you, the dog enjoyed the sausage one. Good, something to celebrate. November 1992. Yes, 30 years ago, and Mr. Blobby made his TV debut. Thanks, Noel. What a house party that was.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Green stuff. COP27. Rishi Sunak claims role as clean energy champion on the eve of the summit. Taxing kerosene fuel on flights could raise £6.7 billion a year for the Treasury. Unlike motorists, airlines have never paid a single penny of duty on the fuel they uplift at UK airports. The Environment Agency has no idea how much water is extracted from rivers and groundwater. The government relies on the honesty of users, according to a whistleblower. 80 staff had to evacuate the £3 billion Sea Green project 27 kilometres off Scotland's Angus coastline after an escape of the world's most potent greenhouse gas escaped.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
The UK state pension is £141 a week, yet in Spain, where GDP is half of the UK's, they get a pension of £513 a week. Ding dong, R.I.P. to the great Leslie Phillips.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
What have the MPs been up to? The man with many questions to answer has been answering to ITV's big cannons, Ant and Dec, while in the jungle. Dr. Kathy Gardner, whose father died from COVID, urged viewers to boycott the show. Gavin Williamson, sacked by 3 different prime ministers in 4 years. Only one Tory MP voted for the motion to retain the pension triple lock for the tax year 2023-24, despite the fact that it was a Tory manifesto pledge in 2019. A Treasury Minister, Andrew Griffiths, failed to name a single Brexit benefit after being put on the spot in the House of Commons. The Palace of Westminster is home to over 2,000 clocks that have to be manually reset by clock mechanics twice a year. I know, why so many? MPs will get a week off Parliament for the King's coronation. Seems a bit unfair to say the least. Does anybody else expect an Elvis song when the King is referred to, or is it just me? With the high number of Tory MPs who are standing down before the next general election, the following advert has been doing the rounds. Hello, we're recruiting for new MPs to join and be the face of the Conservative Party. We're looking for Alan Bastard types, sleazy, hypocritical and egotistical, and able to use political positions to their benefit. Also be able to utilise wealth, connections and wit to further your career and other selfish desires. Ideally from a rich background, former Eton pupil, and with high-ranking Russian friends. If you fit the bill, get in touch with 54 Tufton Street. Please note a £10,000 non-refundable application fee applies.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Nice to hear Nathan Jones is Southampton's manager. Cue song, let's go Bananarama and Supremes fans. You packed your bags as I recall and you walked slowly down the hall. You said you'd had to get away to ease your mind, and all you needed was just a little time.
Please note the information provided by the Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast is for information purposes only and should not be substituted for any type of professional advice. If you have any concerns, please consult with a qualified person or an adult.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Yes, it's time for this year's Christmas pantomime as we look for some top names to star in these top roles. Will it be Christopher Biggins, Brian Conley, Les Dennis or Billy Pearce? No, it won't, as we follow government guidelines and reduce our actor budget in these inflationary times. Names in the hat, and we shall start pulling out the names for those top roles. Drum roll, please.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
First today, it's to play Ugly Sister 1, which goes to whiskey-swigging, cigar-smoking Teresa Coffey. Second out in our Xmas Panto draw is Ugly Sister 2, which has to go to Liz Truss. Our first male Panto role is for Pinocchio, which goes to Boris Johnson. Not entirely sure what his qualifications are for this role. Let's check out on Wiki what is required. Pinocchio was carved by a woodcarver named Geppetto and is created as a wooden puppet. He dreams of becoming a real boy. He is known for his long nose, which grows longer when he tells lies. Wooden, lies. Are you sure Boris is the right choice? Next, nominated by many for the role of Wicked Queen, we can reveal the person starring in this role will be Suella Braverman. And our final role on offer is the King Rat. No competition for this role, just one name being suggested by many. And that winning name of the title for King Rat is Matt Hancock.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Let's have our first blast from Twitter. The cricketer, the ECB, has reportedly received a £400 million private equity approach for a 75% take in the 100. NHS nurses like myself in the RCN, have voted for strike action for the first time ever in our careers. Our first strike dates will be in December. We need your support like never before. Please follow us and help us get the message out there. #RNHS. Les Dennis, I've just finished watching tonight's I'm a Celebrity. I'm gobsmacked. Matt Hancock is still there. WTF is going on. Paul, I'm not in the slightest surprised that Rishi Sunak is spending £1 million of our money on a posh garden gnome for number 10. Danny Baker stopped watching the I'm a Celeb 5 episodes ago when it became clear Matt Hancock was being facilitated by a pro-Tory voting bloc. at ITV should really review what they have done here. The total trivialisation of a national tragedy. He's not a character, he's a disgrace. Chris Bryant, I see the Times floating the idea of charging £50 for a GP appointment. That would not solve the shortage of GPs, and it would mean my poorer constituents would only present very late and consequently die early. I'm against. Sheena, warming myself up by giving myself a quick blast with the hairdryer.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
For those who've not been watching the telly, it was the third night that the producers of I'm a Celebrity finally got their money shot. An emotional Matt Hancock, having been lightly grilled by fellow constituents over everything from his extramarital affair to his failure to keep COVID out of care homes, confesses, what I'm really looking for is a bit of forgiveness.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Well, with 2 years to the next general election, many Tory MPs can now see they have little chance of winning and are now saying they're not going to stand again. Big names like Sajid Javid included. Like Matt Hancock, they're all starting to look for new job opportunities. So here, as ever, some of what we like to think are helpful suggestions. Like Nadim Zahawi, supermarket shelf stacker, so as a supermarket owner it will make a nice change to see how well staff are treated. Steve Barclay, health secretary, should try being a hospital porter. For those with no obvious skills like Dominic Raab, a strippogram. And finally, it's Rishi Sunak, and it's been suggested he become a nude balloon dancer, and the balloons are popped one at a time every time he tells a lie.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Boom Radio UK on Twitter. We're so pleased that UK Vickers will be with us for Paul O'Grady's Christmas Day programme.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Morning, Assistant Joyce. How are you today?
Fine, Mr. Mike. Why have you got baubles hanging from your ears? And what's that jumper?
It's my Home Bargains Christmas sweater. Do you like it?
I'm planning our Christmas works do.
Where are we going, the Hilton or the Pilots Club?
It's not that easy. I have to research things. Check if the alcohol prices are right, if they do vegan food.
Wow, who's vegan?
Well, I have to check in case someone is.
Competition time, name the song or the artiste. Just to let me down, and mess me around. And then, worst of all, you never call baby. When you say you will, but I love you still. I need you, more than anyone, darling. You know that I have from the start. Name the song or the artiste or both.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
If you want to get in touch about anything to do with the Shorter Than Short podcast show, please use either of the following to contact us. Or if you want to send your own stories for the next episode, email cuttings or sound clips to hello@MikeDJKelly.co.uk or on Twitter @MikeKellyDisco. If you're new to the Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast, you can still get to hear all the previous episodes just by searching or shouting the Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Nadim Zahawi says striking UK workers are playing into Putin's hands. Surely he means the UK government's running the economy is. Well done to Morrison's, who with Heinz have been giving away jacket potatoes and baked beans to help with the cost of living crisis. The offer is now finished and enough of the niceties. Now get all the tills open and get rid of the items which come up as unknown item when you're at the till scanning. License plate theft is booming. 54,000 were stolen last year. Expect unexpected bills in the form of petrol station fuel drive-offs, speeding and toll and parking fines, amongst others, if yours has been stolen. Another 6-letter word moment starts with W and ends with an R. Sir Christopher Hahn paid himself £1.5 million a day this year, thought to be the highest pay ever, yet is still able to suggest wage cuts at Google. MOJ, Ministry of Justice, requests urgent use of 400 police cells for male prisoners due to the lack of spaces in men's prisons. Everybody's moving to the hard-to-understand Mastodon platform as they fear the collapse of Twitter. What will these people with millions of Twitter followers do if it vanishes overnight and they are left with nothing? Maybe the world would be a nicer place without these opinionated individuals. Just as it starts to get cold and we turn up the heating and sit staring at the smart meter, we are told the annual UK energy bills would have been £4,270 without emergency support from Ofgem. Imagine how much lower those bills could have been if Ofgem was on the side of the customer. Should people in the north of the UK get bigger subsidies as it's much colder during the winter months? 100 people were arrested in the UK's biggest fraud investigation, yet Johnson, Hancock and others are still walking around free amongst us. My son has just sent a photo from Poland of a pint of Guinness with his picture in the foam on the head of the drink. In France, they used to drive on the left until the 1920s when they switched to the right. I bet that was an interesting day.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Today's do-gooders, and it's a bit of a change as MoneySavingExpert.com is here with some advice. Christmas is a time for exchanging gifts, sharing food and spending time with family. But there are many who are less fortunate and less able to celebrate, from those sleeping rough to the elderly living alone. If you want to do some good this year by donating your time or money, we have a long list of ways you can help out those in need. Give charity gifts. Too many people do it tit for tat, giving at Christmas. The usual result, unwanted tat. Instead, give a gift to a charity in someone's name. Then you know your money is actually paying for something useful. From helping to save lives with vital vaccines to providing fresh water for villagers. This is our rundown of charity gifts, including how much of the donated gifts go to good causes. All the organisations offer a customisable card or gift card that tell the recipient what you've paid for on their behalf. Here are the first 10 charities listed, but there are many more. UNICEF, Oxfam Unwrapped, Macmillan, Save the Children, WaterAid, Refugee, WWF, Centrepoint, Christian Aid and Good Gifts. To be inspired and to find out more, head off to MoneySavingExpert.com.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Mr. Mike, excuse me, this is important. We have had another email from that bloke at Scratchy Bottom.
And what does he want this time?
It's from Mike Hunt from Backside Lane, Scratchy Bottom, Dorset. He wants to let you know that he is now fracking in his garden and able to supply other Scratchy Bottom villagers with his surplus gas at a price.
Is the fracking going okay? Any effect on village life?
He says everything is okay, apart from the village pond has dried up and part of the main road through the village has collapsed.
Guess the celebrity? Born on the 25th of December 1965 in Mansfield in Nottinghamshire, where he attended Nottingham High School, he then went on to study at Jesus College, Oxford, and Birkbeck University, London. He is a British politician. He's been the Member of Parliament for Kingston and Surbiton since 2017, and prior to that he served in the Conservative Liberal Democrat coalition as Secretary of State for Energy and Climate Change from 2012 to 2015. Currently, he is in a job share with Sal Brinton. Who is he?
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Ready, Joyce?
It's the famous people's impersonation spot.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
And on fake showbiz news, Jamie Oliver says the cost of living crisis is actually starting to have an impact on his social life. I've lost count of a number of mates who say they can't afford to come round due to petrol prices, he told reporters. Rihanna points out that some local councils have already started posting details of Christmas bin collections, and getting across them early can be a great way to impress friends and neighbours. Paul McCartney says, does anyone happen to remember his password for the ITV app? I haven't touched it since the Euro 2020, he laughed. Rita Ora admits she's slightly sad. Her relative wealth means she doesn't have to worry about the soaring costs like anyone else. I feel a little bit left out, she told BBC Radio Cornwall. Martin Clunes says, if someone tells you they're feeling a bit down, it's quite funny to reply, is it because you've been putting on weight? Katie Mellower jets off to Beijing to commence her annual bicycle audit. I can't really be asked, but they're expecting it now, she told BBC Radio 2's Paul Gambaccini. Adrian Charles says original sources, vanilla and raspberry shower gel, may smell like a delicious milkshake, but it sure as hell don't taste like one.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Nowadays, everybody wants to win the lottery, but in the old days, it was the pools or spot the ball. Talking of days past, does anybody have godparents anymore? Don't forget, pod pickers, if you want to get in touch with anything to do with the Shorter Than Short podcast show, please use the following to contact us. And if you have stories, gossip or jokes or anything for the next episode, please email hello@mikedjkelly.co.uk, on Twitter @MikeKellyDisco. If you have time, it would be appreciated if you can give us a review on any of the usual feedback sites.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
In the late news, Co-op mobile robots make home deliveries in the Adel and Tinsel areas, seeing loads of these little blighters around, hogging the pavements and sitting waiting at road junctions. Seems okay at present, but what if all delivery companies have their own little fleet of robots? We'll have to start walking on the roads. Talking of the Co-op and their funeral service and pre-planning the send-off you want, I think it's all very sad that people are doing this. Something very cheap and simple for me, followed by lots of drinks in a local pub. Now on adverts, what's the Dream Beds advert with logs sleeping in beds all about? Rail cancellations at their highest rate ever, with most affected services being in the north of England. Weddings, people are getting married less, down to the lowest ever number of people getting married since records began this year. EasyJet to start employing older people. I think it's because once you're claiming a pension, you work for the minimum wage. EasyJet crew to go carol singing this Christmas to cheer up old people, probably part of a job recruitment campaign. Benetton advert says you can access a doctor 24/7, no reference to charges. What was that thing that Hunt did in November? An autumn statement or a budget? Different people are calling it different things. And our final burst from Twitter, Paul Lewis. As other delivery companies get quicker and deliver all day, every day, and by tomorrow the privatised Royal Mail wants to end Saturday deliveries and now fails to meet the next day delivery targets, yet it has a national infrastructure and workforce. Louis. Great news for a civil protest or even some riots. The country hasn't got any capacity in the courts and has run out of prison places. The Conservatives can't even get the basics of a dictatorship right. Mohammed Safar. I don't mind at all having to pay taxes when the poor can't. What really pisses me off is having to pay taxes when the rich won't. Graham Cole, OBE, a smile is such a simple gift, it might brighten someone's day. We cannot know each other's thoughts or problems, but a smile can say so much. To receive a smile is a gift indeed. Duchess Gemma, I wonder how many people know that on this day in 1887, 3 eye tests were abolished by, you guessed it, the Tories. From 1948 to 1986, the NHS provided eye tests and high-quality glasses. So answering the who decided eyes were not part of the NHS, and that was the Tories. Sandra, the population of the world just topped 8 billion. That means if our government gave every human being on the planet £5 each, we'd still have changed from the amount we gave to Dido Harding for an app that never really worked. Eaton Smalimer, I love how metrocratic and open British radio is. Right now, you can listen to Martin Kemp's Son on Capital, Johnny Ball's Daughter on Radio 2, and Chris Tarrant's Son on Radio X. Angel Cage, replying to at BBC Now Show, as an ex-squatter, I admire Corbyn's ability to live rent-free in empty spaces.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
If you want to get in touch with this top-rated and sometimes much listened to podcast, please contact email hello@mikedjkelly.co.uk, Twitter @MikeKellyDisco. Indeed, if you want a podcast making for your business or need any help with radio producer or presentation, travel news, voiceover work, please get in touch. Please tell your friends about the podcast. All they need to do to find it is search on Google for the Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Okay, time to go. Name the song or artiste. Just to let me down, and mess me around. And then, worst of all, you never call baby. When you say you will, say you will. But I love you still. I need you more than anyone, darling. Name the song or the artiste or both. It was the 60s party classic from the Foundations, Build Me Up Buttercup. The famous People's impersonation spot, and the line was, Elementary, my dear Watson. Where did that come from, Joyce? Do you know?
Yes, I do. It's a phrase often attributed to Sherlock Holmes, the English detective in the works of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Holmes supposedly says this to his amazed companion, Dr. Watson, as he explains his reasoning in solving a crime. Though these precise words are never used in the Holmes stories, something like them appears in the story The Crooked Man. Excellent, Watson cried. Elementary, said he.
Yes, the celeb, born on the 25th of December 1965 in Mansfield, where he attended Nottingham High School. He then went on to study at Jesus College, Oxford, and at Birkbeck University of London. He is a British politician. He's been a Member of Parliament for Kingston and Surbiton since 2017, and prior to that served in the Conservative Liberal Democrat coalition as Secretary of State for Energy and Climate Change from 2012 to 2015. Currently in a job share with Sal Brinton. Who is he? He is indeed Sir Edward Jonathan Davy, a British politician serving as acting co-leader of the Liberal Democrats since 2019. Joyce, it's that time.
What time, Mr. Mike?
Come here.
Why are you holding that mistletoe over me? Get off, I need a large gin.
Guess what? That's enough. For this, I've always said I'd never take the lower offer edition of the crazy Shorter Than Short podcast show. From me, Mike Kelly.
And me, Joyce.
And remember, you can always find the podcast by searching or shouting the Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast.
This is the Mike Kelly podcast.
Mike Kelly.